So welcome to the third episode of the Tour de Greaves cycling show. Delighted to say that I've got another one of the brilliant young Brits who is going to be tearing up the scene over the next couple of years. I'm sure the world tour scene. Ethan Hayter of INEOS Grenadiers. How are we? Are we well?
Good, yeah. I've just done nice training ride in Manchester and it's been sunny, so it's a bonus.
Yeah, the weather's been dreadful this last couple of weeks. I guess kind of, if anything's going to prep you for the Belgian classics, it's the good northern weather around Manchester and Lancashire.
Yeah, although in opening weekend the weather was actually really good, so yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned opening weekend there. That must have been a real kind of baptism of fire for the season. You were going so well, and then had that late crash. How have you recovered from that? Are you feeling much better now?
Yeah, I didn't really hurt myself badly. Luckily, I was a bit bruised up, and my back's been a bit stiff. But apart from that, it was more just I was more just pissed off, to be honest, from not being able to race in the finish and see what happened there. So that's cycling sometimes, and you just have to. Hopefully, there'll be more opportunities.
Yeah, you've got a couple of opportunities this week. You're over in Belgium again this week. I guess this last 12 months has been really strange in terms of for everybody with lockdowns. You just mentioned before we came on that you get the Eurostar to Belgium, but you came out of lockdown in some brilliant form, and you got some cracking results in the Italian races. Do you feel that your form's carried over from the back end of last season into this season? Is that that must have been a real kind of frustration on opening weekend not to be able to carry on? You look really strong going into that.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm actually a lot better than I was at the end of last year, because last year I had a few setbacks and injuries, and I didn't really have much of a base behind my training. So it was we kind of just rushed the end of the season, hope for the best, and it kind of worked out. But no, I'm in a better place now, so it's just. I've been a little bit rusty in some of the other races we've done as well as Omloop I was actually quite good, but yeah, I think if I just keep doing racing and there'll be opportunities come my way, pretty sure.
Yeah, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind last kind of couple of years. Cracking results at the Baby Giro in 2019. I think I spoke to you after you'd won your height in beer at the Tour of Yorkshire on the Black Sheep Brewery Sprint as well. How have you found life adapting to World Tour? You look to have slotted in with the Grenadiers as comfortably as you could expect, really.
Yeah, it's strange. Kind of obviously you're improving every year as you get older, anyway, and I have kind of slotted in quite nicely, I guess. Yeah, doing classics last year in my first monument, but yeah, nothing's been a massive. Obviously, my training workload has stepped up quite a lot in the last year, really. That's probably the biggest thing, but I've adapted to that quite well already. So I'm enjoying it.
What's it like being part of that team? I mean, going back the kind of 10, 12 years that they've been in existence, they've won everything from a Grand Tour point of view, and a smatterings of classics and monuments and things like that. Is there a real kind of weight of expectation as a British rider on a British World Tour team, to kind of keep up that tradition? I guess, the likes of Chris Froome has obviously left now, which opens up doors. But what kind of weight of expectation do you feel as a young British rider on that team?
To be honest, I don't feel it that bad. Hopefully that is what their actual... Hopefully they don't expect more of me than I'm doing. But the pressure is not really that much. I think they know with young riders, the pressure is not really always a good thing, like obviously there is pressure, but most of the pressure you put on yourself to perform, and they know that everyone wants to win the races and stuff. It's not, they don't need extra pushing, to be honest. So yeah, I don't think there is massive pressure. Everyone's quite happy, and the team from might seem a lot more robotic from the outside than it actually is on the inside, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, Dave Brails said after Teo won the Giro, said, we're changing the way we're going to race. We're going to race on feel, and watching Teo in that Giro was just incredible. The impression is that it's the INEOS starship and you're controlling races, but I guess with the likes of you and Tom Pidcock and Eggenberg now, you've got a lot of riders who are capable of really springing a surprise. Teo obviously did last year on the Giro. Do you think it's unfair criticism sometimes that gets levelled at INEOS and Dave Brailsford, that it is all about the kind of robotics and things like
that? No, I think in some races, I think at the end of the day, they just try to win the races, and sometimes going about it in the robotic way is the best way of doing that. I mean, they've been so successful at doing it, you can't really knock them, can you? But I think now they're kind of seeing, how much people enjoy watching the more attacking racing, and obviously we're not trying to get in every break and win every intermediate sprint and that kind of thing, or just going in the break for the sake of it. We're not doing that. We're going in the break to win the race, and it's that kind of style of racing that's just a little bit different, I guess. And I think in the first classics already we were really good. So no, everyone's enjoying it.
I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Everyone can whinge about kind of INEOS, but we've seen Jumbo Visma over the last couple of years. That's the way they've kind of tried to control races. Once Roglic is in yellow, and to a certain extent, that's what happened at Paris-Nice. Not forgetting the crashes that Roglic suffered yesterday. But in terms of your style of racing, I remember kind of like say chatting to you, Tour of Yorkshire, chatting to you just before Surrey London Classic, and you're probably somebody who I guess is what you class as an old school racer. Love getting out on your bike, love kind of thrashing it about a bit and things like that. Is that kind of thing encouraged by the coaches at INEOS to actually go out and race your own race? I mean, obviously in Grand Tours there'll be certain plans, but for some of the other races, are you given that freedom to kind of go out like you did on opening weekend?
Depends on the race. Like, we have a plan before every race that we sit down and go through, and different scenarios and what's the best way of dealing with situations. But in like the classics, for example, the one-day races, a lot of the time it is just a feeling of when to move and when to wait, and they're all for that. So like Tom's move or Gianni's move in Nieuwsbald, Johnny's move was kind of pre-planned, but obviously Van der Poel attacked as well in Kerner, and that kind of racing. I mean, we were super successful over that weekend in terms of the process and what we did. Yeah.
What do you make of the start by the young British riders? I mean, a lot of these will be, lads you've been racing with, either against or on the Team GB. Obviously, you'll know Tom Pidcock really well from racing on the national team. What do you make of the start to the season that we've had from that? Jake Stewart, of course, second, Tom on the podium as well. Are you surprised, or is this the kind of, the new dawn of British talent coming through the ranks?
I'm not surprised that we'd end up at this level, but it's come a bit sooner than any of us would have thought, to be honest. But in 2016, me, Jake, Tom, Fred, and Matt Walls, we were all on the junior program together, and we were all obviously pushing each other quite a lot. So I think it's kind of crazy that we were all stepped up to this level, but it's really nice at the same time.
Yeah, and you've got between you, there's a big collection of rainbow jerseys there, and in various competitions and things like that. What do you enjoy most about being, perhaps the time you've spent with the national team? Is it this really good grounding? I mean, you did some decent races with the national team. What's the feel like on that academy and on the junior teams?
It's all about learning, really. We weren't doing crazy training to like how some people are now, if you know what I mean. We weren't. It was more just like going to races, and sometimes we get heads kicked in, sometimes we win, but you'd learn so much every race. Even on the academy after that. So we were on the junior program for 2 years, and then moved to the academy for a few years as well, where we then lived together in Manchester, and that becomes more of a full-time experience.
Yeah.
You could say you're living with your teammates basically 24/7, so it's quite intense, but it's good.
Yeah, and what's the rest of your year look like? You've obviously got a couple of the Belgian kind of semi-classics this week. What's your goals for this year, and what's your race program looking like?
On the road, everything keeps changing so much, with cancellations, and then people crash out and get injured, and they can't really plan that far in advance. So I'm doing these 2 races and then Copy Bartoli, which will be good fun. I enjoyed racing it last year when we ended up actually winning the overall. And then I don't know, after that there's a track race in Ghent in April, just one day of Omnium and Madison, which would be good because I've not raced on the track in over a year.
Wow.
Just because I crashed just before the Euros last year, but apart from the Euros, where not even that many countries went in the end, there's been no other races because it's kind of, there's not as much money in it, I guess, and that's what drives professional sport to get through all the coronavirus stuff. And then there's the Newport Nations Cup's been cancelled, and then there's one in Hong Kong just before Olympic selection, which I think we're planning on going to, but at the moment British nationals won't be allowed entry to Hong Kong, so we don't know what's going to happen there. And then hopefully the Olympics in the summer is a big goal.
Yeah. How does it work with the kind of combination of riding for INEOS and the Olympics? Is I guess INEOS so kind of intrinsically linked with Team GB. Is there that awareness that actually the Olympics is a big goal for the track, and certainly for you as a rider? Does that work? Does it manage to fit with your kind of road race program?
It does, yeah. I'm still going to the track here. I've been to the gym twice last week and doing bits and bobs when I can. But right now, I think the road is really benefiting my development physiologically as well. So I think at the moment it's worth doing, and they're happy with me doing it.
Cool.
Sorry, go on. I think in June I'll step back and do a bit more of a focus on the track. Obviously that's getting quite close, but the selection's in May, so we'll find out.
Excellent. And just looking at kind of some of the kind of the protocols around Tokyo, it seems like it's going to be without kind of foreign fans, and I know certainly from speaking to some of the journalists who are covering it from our agency, it's going to be kind of you're quarantined in a hotel, you can't even go out and things like that. It's going to make it a bit of a weird experience, but I guess the Olympic Games is the pinnacle of most sporting careers. Are you looking forward to perhaps being out in Tokyo, selection willing, and kind of still experiencing that kind of Olympic buzz?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Apparently the velodrome is quite a weird experience anyway at the Olympics because there's a big limit on bed numbers basically in the Olympic Village. The actual number of riders in track centre is quite small, compared to actually less than even a World Cup or a Class 1 event.
Really?
And then in the crowd, apparently half of it's press and a load of it's business people, and then it's not quite the same atmosphere as you would get at European Champs, for example, or something like that. So apparently it's quite strange anyway, from what I've heard from more experienced riders, obviously. But yeah, I think I'm super excited if I get to go, and it'd be amazing.
And again, there's been so much success on the track. Who did you look up to when you were growing up as a cyclist? Did you look to some of those Team GB heroes from 2012, 2016, and the like? Who was the kind of the poster boy or girl on your wall?
I got into cycling quite late, actually, around 2012. And obviously Wiggins won the Tour, and Chris Hoy won his 6th gold medal or something. And then there was all the team pursuit teams, and I mean, you could pick any of them. They pretty much won every event apart from the women's. I think they got disqualified in the women's team sprint, but apart from that, they were pretty successful. So yeah, you could pick any of them.
And looking forward kind of beyond the Olympics, I guess, you know, the Olympics does kind of skew your race program. I guess you'll be looking to develop yourself as a rider with INEOS. Have you got any kind of big goals in mind kind of before the next Olympic cycle starts? Is there kind of grand tours or certain one-day races which you'd love a crack at the sharp end at?
I would like to go to a Grand Tour and probably help out. That'd be pretty exciting. And even, and just, I'm still finding where, you know, like I was good in the Ardennes last year, and I probably had a shot at winning Omloop this year, really, if I'd made it to the sprint. So it's hard to see exactly where I'm headed as a rider, to be honest. I'll just keep exploring that and keep my options open, I think.
And how does that process work? Do you sit down with, are you somebody who looks at the numbers and thinks, yeah, you know what, that suits me on that kind of terrain, or is it just literally doing as many of these races as you can over the next kind of 12 months and developing and seeing how the team develops around you?
For me, I'm quite fortunate to be quite, you know, like on my power curve, for example, I'm quite good at a lot of things. So I've kind of, a lot of races do suit me. Obviously some a bit hard, for example, but I just need to keep racing and find what races I really enjoy, for example, and then target those. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time. Good luck this week in Belgium, and we'll be keeping an eye, obviously, on the Olympic selection as well, because getting to Tokyo, I guess, would be a real kind of thing to tick off your list and get that. But so yeah, best of luck, Ethan. We wish you all the best for the year.
Thanks a lot.